Hey, this is Philipp from Orchestral Tools. Today I'd like to take you through the process of going from any instrument to full orchestra. I'm a pianist, so I'm going to take a section from a piece I played at university and orchestrate it using Berlin Free Orchestra. You might recognize the music we are using today. It's actually one of Chopin's nocturnes. No pressure then. But that's actually half the point. Using classical pieces as inspiration is actually great practice. There's always something to be learned from the masters. To make it easy to follow along, I broke the piece up into 3 different sections. We have the intro plus A melody part, then a B melody, and lastly the A melody repeats in a big orchestral statement. Let's have a listen to the full mockup. I know it sounds like there's a hell of a lot going on, but we can break it down fairly easily. So let's go! Let's start with the intro and A melody. We definitely want to hold back a little for the big section at the end and to create a nice overall arc. So let's keep the beginning fairly simple. I started with the arpeggio in the left hand of the original piano piece and put it in the harp with some slight variations to not just rip off Chopin. Staying with the accompaniment, I then took the chords and put them in a string bed, with the root notes being played by bass pizzicato and the rest being plain sustains. The string chords may seem confusing with all those moving lines, but it's easier than it looks. I listen out for what sounds nice and then take the lead tones from the chords to get to my next note. For example, on this cello line, I'm going from an E minor chord to a B minor chord, and I'm taking the E as a lead line to get to the F sharp, then back down to the E and down to the B. There's also some vibraphone playing a bit of the arpeggios here and there to give some color to the strings and harp. Trombones playing on 2nd and 4th beat for some added depth. This was just a random flash of inspiration to help get a bit more movement. The melody is led by the clarinet. As there's a lot of long notes and the tempo is really slow, the dynamic shaping of the melody is really important here. The clarinet swells on the first 3 beats and then goes down as the melody goes down as well. This sounds way more interesting than just holding a flat note. The flute joins the clarinet halfway through the melody to fill out the harmony line that is played in the original piece here. Remember, woodwind players need to breathe. I let the flute join early on purpose to introduce the color a little more subtly. This is a trick I'll use all the time in my woodwind writing. For the B melody, I want to switch up the orchestration a bit, so more woodwinds are coming in. Bassoons are carrying the harmony, flute and oboe are now taking the lead, harmonized by clarinet and second flute. The sustained strings change to tremolo here and do a register switch in the middle of this part to vary the accompaniment and to strengthen the dynamic and harmonic build in the woodwinds. The harp arpeggios and bass pizzicato maintain continuity. Lastly, you hear a bass drum hit as well as a tom-tom scrape to make the transition between the 2 sections a little bit more fluent. And here we are at the final section. This is the climax of our piece, so we don't need to hold back anything anymore. The lead is taken by the violins in octaves, as well as the flute as a color. A quick word to the mockup here. As there's no legatos on the violins, I lay in the solo violin legato to get a little bit more realism and detail to the violin ensemble. The bass switches to sustains here and plays the root notes taken from the piano version, together with the tuba and some reinforcements in the timpani. The harmony is played by the cello and trombones. You can't beat a little ear candy, so I took a variation on the arpeggio from the original and put it in the violas, clarinets and vibraphone. Then we have a little counter melody in horns, English horn and oboe, a very common combination by the way. There's one last switch up in the end, where the woods take the lead for the last melody line, and the rest of the orchestra goes a bit into the background to make room for this. So you see, everything in orchestration is about switching colors, finding nice instrument combinations, and keeping it interesting all the way through. What are our key takeaways from this video? The woodwinds are great at taking solo lines as well as coloring the whole orchestration. Perfect for adding ear candy, embellishments as well as melodies. I personally like to reserve the brass for the big statements and climaxes, with trombones and tuba taking the harmony and horns and trumpets taking the lead lines. But brass is also great for soft accompanying chords together with strings or woodwinds. Strings are the most versatile. They are fantastic in melody writing as well as accompaniment and textures. Percussion is there to enhance certain lines, unless of course you have a big action cue that is very percussion driven. And that's a wrap. You can find the Cubase session, the scores, as well as a bunch of useful links in the description. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you create with Berlin Free Orchestra. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments down below, and as always, have fun making music.